Jessica Lynn hesitated before speaking.
He treats me quite well.
She didn't sound very confident. Michael Hahn had been good to her and had promised her many things over the past few days.
But I don't feel like Michael truly loves me. He never mentions love. The most he feels for me, perhaps, is affection.
Adrian Lung's eyes softened with a tender affection as he looked at Jessica Lynn.
Jessica, I know you can't live without him, which is why I let you go back to him. But if he doesn't treat you well, how could I bear it?
Yes, he treats me quite well. Our relationship is quite ordinary now. You know, Adrian, sometimes I think that all passionate feelings between people eventually become ordinary. That's the state we're in now. We each have our own things to do, and when we come back to the same place every day, it's just the most common relationship in the world.
Jessica was startled by how naturally she said the word relationship, especially in front of Adrian.
Since you've come to terms with it, what more can I say? I wish you happiness.
Adrian's expression turned much more indifferent. He loved Jessica and was willing to do anything for her. But the man in her heart wasn't him. Perhaps loving someone means letting them go and seeing them happy. They sipped their coffee, and the past seemed to sing softly at the corners of their mouths like the wind.
All right, let me take you home. We've been out for quite a while today.
No need, it's very convenient for me to take a cab.
They chatted a bit more before Jessica left. This farewell felt different. Jessica felt reborn, including her relationship with Adrian. It seemed like everything had returned to the starting point, and all the unpleasant things would vanish like smoke. Meanwhile, at Hahn Corporation, Michael Hahn closed his laptop. He had attended 5 international meetings today and was exhausted. When his secretary reported the day's stock market situation, a victorious smile appeared on his lips.
Good, keep up the good work.
A few days ago, due to an injury, Michael had handed over the management of Hahn Corporation to his subordinates. However, their abilities were far inferior to his. In just a few months, they had dragged down Hahn Corporation's performance. They even lost their long-held leading position to Lung Corporation. Just when everyone was in a state of panic, Michael returned. He reorganized Hahn Corporation, bringing it back to its dominant position in the business world. The employees no longer had to worry about being laid off, and they followed Michael's lead with renewed vigor.
By the way, if our stock rises by 3 points tomorrow, every employee...
Spring arrived with warm, golden sunlight spreading across the land, awakening all living things. The ground was wrapped in a golden hue. Inside Jessica Lynn's flower shop, a woman inhaled the floral scents, identifying each type of flower by its fragrance.
How much for this flower?
That's baby's breath. It's perfect for this season.
And this one?
That's Aclivia. Its blue buds are about to bloom, and when they do, they'll fill the air with a delightful fragrance. However, its blooming period is short, but it's very beautiful.
All right, I'll take it.
The customer successfully chose her favorite bouquet, and Jessica gently wrapped the flowers.
Jessica, you're amazing. You can identify flowers just by their scent. When will I ever reach your level?
Just use all your senses. You don't always need your eyes.
Okay. By the way, Jessica, isn't the doctor coming today? Didn't he say he could remove your stitches today?
Yes, it's time to remove them.
Jessica's lips turned down slightly, a hint of nervousness in her expression. She feared disappointment and worried that she might never fully recover. In the afternoon, a man in a white coat appeared. He wore glasses and had a gentle demeanor. His appearance was very kind, and he looked at Jessica with the same gentleness.
Jessica, soon you'll be able to see again.
The man spoke, and Jessica clenched her fingers, nodding. She lay in the back room of the flower shop, gently closing her eyes. The doctor removed the bandages from her eyes and applied a thick layer of ointment. Instantly, a bitter scent filled her nostrils.
It was medicine.
Wait a moment, let the medicine soak into your eyes. I'll clean it off, and then you can try to open them.
Okay.
Jessica nodded. She followed the doctor's instructions step by step. As the clock on the wall ticked away, the cool sensation on her eyes was wiped away with gauze. Gradually, she opened her eyes.
Can you see?
Jessica nodded slightly.
I think I can see.
Her voice trembled, her entire being holding back the deep-seated fear and joy within her. This moment she had waited for 3 years.
I can see. I really can see.
Jessica looked steadily at the handsome man in front of her, who gazed back at her with equally deep eyes. Tears streamed down Jessica Lynn's face.
Wonderful, you can see. Jessica, you're beautiful.
The doctor's voice carried a hint of affection and relief. He had been following Jessica Lynn's case for 3 years. Despite repeated failures, Jessica never gave up on treatment. She cooperated with him, and today she could see the light again.
Thank you, Lucas.
Jessica changed her. With an inexplicable certainty, she waited from 4 in the afternoon until 11:30 at night. The clock ticked closer to midnight.
A girl like me, no matter how delicious the things I make, he probably wouldn't even glance at them. This anticipation of mine is truly laughable.
She looked down at the meticulously made tiramisu, slowly putting it back into the box. Just as she was about to place it in the fridge, she heard the sound of a car screeching to a halt outside. Then hurried footsteps. The sound of leather shoes on marble, fast and urgent. It seemed like someone was really in a rush. As the footsteps approached the hall, they slowed down, returning to a leisurely pace.
Just in time.
He pushed open the door, his icy eyes first glancing at Sarah, then at his watch. Sarah was a bit puzzled.
I made this when I was bored. Do you want to try it?
She took out a piece of tiramisu, feeling so nervous that her hands were trembling. Alex Zhang, he never eats random things. But he didn't hesitate at all and took a bite directly. Sarah watched him anxiously, only to see a smile slowly spread from the corner of his mouth.
Is it good?
She asked like a child waiting for praise, eagerly anticipating his response. He didn't say anything, just slowly reached out, dipped his finger in some cream, and dabbed it on her forehead.
Happy birthday!
Those 4 words hit her heart like a bullet, like fireworks exploding in her mind. After midnight, it would be her 24th birthday. Since she was 8, she hadn't celebrated her birthday. So many years had passed that she almost forgot. With her heart pounding and her face flushed, she was just about to thank him. But his phone kept ringing, and he dealt with company matters until 3 in the morning.
Did he come back specifically to celebrate my birthday?
She hugged a pillow and curled up on the sofa waiting for him, but she fell asleep before he said another word to her. But someone in this world remembered her birthday. Even in her dreams, she cried tears of joy.
The joy was, Alex Zhang, it's so good to have you. The tears were, Alex Zhang, I'm not worthy of loving you.
Her home was an unhappy family of 5, where boys were favored over girls. Her sister and she existed for their brother, Ryan Luo. Ryan Luo was like a child who never grew up, excessively pampered by their parents. Her sister and she were forced to grow up, relying on each other, licking each other's wounds.
Because of my sister's surgery fees and my brother's debts, I stood in front of him like a commodity. That night, I became his woman. A large sum of money was transferred to my parents' bank account. They first paid off my brother's debts and made me use my living expenses to cover my sister's medical bills each month. I was sold to him by my parents.
She longed for her parents' love, but only when she obeyed them could she be their precious daughter. When I returned home today, my parents were discussing throwing a banquet for my 24th birthday. They didn't even remember that my birthday had already passed.
A zodiac year is a big deal. We must celebrate it grandly. You just need to cover the expenses.
Yes, we'll invite all the neighbors and relatives so they can see our precious daughter, Sandra Luo.
We should be able to collect quite a few red envelopes, too.
Their enthusiasm was palpable until Dad suggested inviting Alex Zhang.
Alex Zhang wouldn't come.
Should we drop the idea then?
You're such a coward, Sandra. You can't even ask him?
Ryan's right, Sandra.
One was showing off, and the other was concerned about face.
Sandra, try again, please.
I could only reluctantly agree, holding my sister's hand. But Alex Zhang hadn't been back for several days. I was just a canary in his palm.
Miss Luo, look at this news about Mr. Zhang.
Aunt Juan showed me some gossip news about Alex Zhang on her phone. He had gone to a musical with Emily Zhou, the daughter of the Zhou family. Rich, handsome, and as cold as the Arctic, Alex Zhang was always more popular than movie stars, with every move he made becoming a media sensation.
When will he be back, Aunt Juan?
Miss Luo, you could call Mr. Zhang?
I couldn't answer her. I never initiated contact with him because he once said that wasn't what a canary should do. But now, I missed him so much. As night fell, the weather turned chilly, and I curled up in bed. A pair of cold hands reached around my waist from behind, tracing a circle around my navel. I shivered from the cold, and he held me tighter. He was always like this, coming and going without a trace.
Alex, it's my birthday soon.
Alex Zhang's brows furrowed instantly.
I know you don't want to go. You're busy. I'll tell my parents.
Good girl.
His brows relaxed, and my anxious heart settled down. I didn't want to trouble this man in the slightest. He had already given me more than enough money, but I still felt like crying. I wanted to press my face against his chest and soak his clothes with my tears. Or maybe just cry to myself. My 24th birthday banquet. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of tables more extravagant than some weddings. Mom dragged me to each table to socialize. This wasn't the birthday I had hoped for, but I had to go along with it. My aunt's family was there too. She was my mom's special guest. Mom had spent most of her life listening to her husband and son, but she cared a lot about appearances. My uncle was more successful than Dad, my cousins excelled in their studies, and my cousin's sister had found an ideal husband. Mom had always felt overshadowed.
Why hasn't your boyfriend come, Sandra? Your mom said he was a billionaire and very accomplished.
Mom's face turned green instantly, and she could only say that the big boss was busy. As she said this, she pinched my leg hard under the table, making me flinch in pain. Sandra's aunt seized the moment to sneer, her voice dripping with disdain.
What kind of golden catch is he? Why has he never come to visit the family despite dating for so long?
Could he be a poor scholar pretending to be wealthy, or perhaps an older man with a family already?
Honestly, if you ask me, someone like Sandra should just find an ordinary man with a house and a car. That would be good enough.
Not everyone can be as lucky as your daughter, you know? My son-in-law spent tens of thousands on gold jewelry alone, and the banquet was 3 times grander than today's.
Oh, and my daughter has 2 or 3 maids at home.
Sandra, when are you getting married? Don't set your sights too high, not everyone has the same fate.
Sandra stood there at a loss for words. She didn't care about her aunt's bragging, but the open humiliation stung deeply. She couldn't argue back because Alex Zhang wouldn't marry her. Her mom's frustration soon erupted into a heated argument with her aunt.
I just want to disappear.
Just then, a long honk sounded from the entrance, and 4 or 5 luxury cars gleamed under the sun. The first car was Alex Zhang's ride, a brand new Rolls-Royce. Several black Maybach S600s followed closely behind, like stars surrounding the moon. Everyone's attention shifted towards the cars. Alex Zhang, dressed in a black pinstripe suit with a light purple bow tie, his short hair perfectly styled, stepped out. His eyes held a sharp, hidden intensity. They didn't know who he was, but his every move exuded an unmistakable air of nobility. The powerful aura plunged the entire scene into a stifling silence. The girls' eyes lit up, craning their necks to see who this handsome man was. Soon, bodyguards began unloading gifts from the convoy, making several trips in and out, piling each table high. An attendant announced that every guest would receive a gift. Alex Zhang walked up to Sandra, and she saw her aunt's face turn pale while her mom beamed with joy. Guests eagerly tore open the gilded gift boxes, revealing luxurious scarves worth a fortune and rare wines worth thousands per bottle. The guests were too stunned to hide their expressions, and the girls' faces turned rosy, their hesitant steps betraying their excitement.
This is my future son-in-law.
Her aunt was speechless, her legs trembling, likely from anger. Sandra's mom's words made her feel a surge of anxiety. She looked up at Alex Zhang, but he didn't utter a single word of denial. Her dad and brother quickly rushed forward to greet Alex Zhang. He remained as cold as ice, speaking to no one. Everyone felt it was only natural.
Let's go home, Sandra.
His deep gaze fixed on Sandra, and with a strong hand, he held her close. She could feel countless eyes piercing her back. Surprise, envy, and mostly jealousy. On the way back, for the first time, Sandra kissed Alex passionately and eagerly. Her breath became erratic, and the atmosphere grew thick with tension. His large hand cupped her face.
Why so forward today?
Because I really love you. I want to kiss you every day. She wrapped her arms around his neck, her eyes dreamy.
For a moment, Sandra had the illusion that she was truly his girlfriend. But apart from kissing her deeply, he didn't say a word. I closed my eyes and kissed passionately, not because I was overwhelmed by emotion, but because I didn't want him to see my tears and the last shred of my dignity. My cautious confession of love was met with silent rejection. Alex Zhang's excellence was unparalleled among young talents. The first time I saw him, I was captivated by his eyes. I wasn't the only girl who fell for his charm in a suit. Her name was Emily Zhou, the heiress of the Zhou Group. She was madly infatuated with Alex Zhang. If Alex Zhang were a celebrity, Emily Zhou might have spent millions to win him over. Fortunately, Alex Zhang was wealthy too. Why do I say fortunately? A girl like me could never compare to someone like her.
Alex, this bouquet is for you. I hope you like it.
She sent flowers, cars, and gold watches. She even bought a full-page ad just to declare her love for Alex Zhang, saying she would marry no one else. Such passionate love made the media ecstatic, and soon the Zhou Group and Alex Zhang's company were in full cooperation. She took every opportunity to cling to Alex Zhang, from day to night.
Oh, what a coincidence seeing you here. Come, let's shop together.
She even went out of her way to create chances to bump into me. In the mall, she brought 7 or 8 of her friends and smiled at me, saying how coincidental it was to see me. She dragged me along to shop. Did she really need to go to such lengths? Didn't I know my place? Besides, I had already decided to leave Alex Zhang next month. In the mall, these socialites ordered me around. I carried their bags, helped them try on clothes and shoes. Tears welled up inside me like burning sand, and I suddenly thought of Alex Zhang. Countless times I had helped him with his shoes like a servant, while he gently traced my chin and stared at me. It seems that once you're on your knees for too long, it's hard to stand up again.
Oh, you must try this on. It'll look perfect on you.
In the end, Emily Zhou pretended to be kind and offered to buy me some lingerie, forcing me to try it on. While I was changing, she suddenly pulled back the curtain and walked in. I was completely undressed and screamed in shock, while she shamelessly looked me up and down with disdain.
So this is what you look like, nothing special.
She walked out laughing, and my face turned crimson. The humiliation felt just like my first time with Alex Zhang. Dirty and degrading. My sister's illness was finally cured, and today I was going to pick her up from the hospital. Neither my parents nor my brother came, but it didn't affect my mood. Holding her healthy body, I was so happy, yet there was a tinge of sadness in my heart. Now that my sister was better, I had to leave him. After all, I couldn't be his kept woman forever, living without dignity. I needed to work harder and support my sister and myself with my own hands.
Sis, I'm a bit hungry.
After eating bland hospital food for so long, I decided to treat her to a feast today. But just as I had this thought, a Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of me. Alex Zhang's car. Why was he here? I was a bit stunned. The window rolled down, and his icy eyes softened as he looked at my sister.
Just out of the hospital. You need some good nourishment. Get in the car. I know a great Cantonese seafood place.
Is this my brother-in-law? He's so handsome.
But I was wondering why the workaholic Alex.
Uneasy as we got into the car, my sister looked around the luxurious vehicle, feeling a bit uneasy. Suddenly, she whispered something to me.
Do you think he'd mind if we didn't have seafood?
Cautious, I glanced at her awkwardly and then cautiously asked Alex Zhang. Cautious, could we not have seafood? Friendly, of course. What would you like to eat? Relieved so, I mentioned a famous street stall that sold chicken feet. Surprised for the first time, I saw a look of surprise on Alex Yang's face. Cheerful, my sister was giggling quietly, while I feared that Alex Zhang might kick us out of the car any second. Excited, it was the first time a Rolls-Royce had pulled up to a street stall. All the diners were stunned. Cheerful, the stall owner, with a cigarette dangling from his mouth, nearly cut his own finger. Excited, my sister and I jumped out of the car, shouting our orders. Excited, 3 skewers of marinated chicken feet, the spiciest ones. Excited, and a serving of heart and lung, 2 servings of lettuce, and 3 servings of beef. Cheerful, I wiped the greasy little stool 3 times with a tissue before inviting Alex Zhang to sit down. Surprised, he was known for his cleanliness. Normally, he would have kicked such a dirty stool far away. Cheerful, but this time, he surprisingly sat down without complaint, not caring about his immaculate suit, which looked completely out of place at the bustling street stall. Cheerful, he even started gnawing on the greasy, bright red marinated chicken feet. Curious, is it good? Cheerful, it's delicious. Shy after a moment, he added. Cheerful, but I think the best thing I've ever tasted is your tiramisu. Sad, my nose tingled, and I didn't respond. Maybe you'll never get to taste it again. Sad, lying alone in bed, I dreamt that Alex Zhang got married. He wore a pure black suit, his sculpted face still expressionless, yet heartbreakingly handsome. Sad, the bride was Emily Zhou, her diamond-studded wedding dress making her glow. And me, where was I? Sad, I woke up in the dark, tears soaking my pillow. Serious, the collaboration banquet between the Zhou and Zhang families was held. I accompanied Alex Zhang to this high society event. Shy while he mingled with the elites, I awkwardly stayed on the sidelines. I knew very well that I was not the star of the evening. Excited as the stirring music played, the doors slowly opened. The real star of the evening arrived. Excited, Emily Zhou, in a pure white gown encrusted with gems, walked in, dazzling everyone. Her bright red lips were as striking as a song, making me feel like a plain steamed vegetable in comparison. Shy receiving countless admiring glances, Emily Zhou walked towards me. Friendly, this is Alex Zhang's girlfriend. Shy, she affectionately linked her arm with mine and introduced me to the other socialites, saying I was Alex Zhang's girlfriend. Though she used the term girlfriend, those women immediately understood the implication. Unfriendly to be worthy of Mr. Zhang. You must be exceptional, right? Unfriendly, did you attend a top university in China or an Ivy League school in the US? Unfriendly, what business is Miss Luo's family in? Sad, the socialites spared no effort in mocking my background and education, trying to tell me that I was unworthy of Alex Zhang. The disdainful looks from the guests were piercing. Sad, I wanted to escape, but a few socialites held my arms tightly. Hopeful at that moment, Alex Zhang descended the stairs with a few hosts.
At just 32 years old, Ethan Zhang still exuded youth. His all-black suit was simple yet elegant, making him shine like a brilliant new star. His gaze swept over the crowd, landing on me with an air of condescension.
Oh, look who's here. Let's give her a little swim.
When the socialites jokingly pushed me into the swimming pool, I was left drenched and utterly embarrassed. I noticed that the polite smile on Ethan's face remained unchanged. I thought that by hiding underwater, I could avoid his gaze. Deceiving myself, I believed that this way I wouldn't embarrass myself or him. But when those socialites also fell into the pool with screams, I hurriedly emerged from the water. Through my wet eyelashes, I could only see his back and Emily Zhou's furious expression. At that moment, I decided to leave. I would hinder Ethan Zhang's career. Rather than being abandoned, I chose to let go myself. Ethan Zhang hadn't come to see me for a week. Not seeing him was good. I found myself increasingly afraid of facing Ethan Zhang. The more frequently he appeared before me, the deeper I sank into self-deception. On the contrary, his current indifference made me more clear-headed. My sister's illness had been cured. It was time to leave, although I was deeply reluctant. But Ryan Luo came to ask for money again, and I didn't want to give any more. The next day, my parents asked me to come home. As soon as I stepped through the door, a slap landed on my face. Dad always hit hard. My sister cried and begged him not to hit me, trying her best to protect me. Mom stood anxiously to the side, crying as she told me that my brother had gotten into a fight at a bar last night and was now at the police station.
What does him being at the police station have to do with me? Is my existence just to give him money? When will you stop bleeding me dry?
I shouted, venting, as if yelling would change everything. But nothing changed.
You ungrateful child.
Dad cursed my unfilial behavior and hit me with a belt. Mom cried about my lack of conscience, saying I didn't even care about my brother. My sister, trying to protect me, was also hurt by Dad's belt. That day, I returned to the villa, and soon Ethan Zhang's car arrived. He looked at my bare face and swollen, red eyes with displeasure.
Is this how you take care of your appearance?
I knew that dressing up beautifully every day to please him was my duty and obligation. But suddenly, I felt very tired. Seeing my silence, he asked if I was angry about being pushed into the pool.
I warned her. It won't happen again.
It wasn't because of her.
It's your family's mess again.
Before we even finished dinner, a sum of money appeared in my bank account. My brother's issue could indeed be solved with money, but the matters of the heart couldn't. But this money was Ethan Zhang's way of comforting and caring for me. Yes, money was what I packed my luggage and took a lingering look at the home where I had lived for nearly a year. My sister had been well for so long, and I had held on until today without leaving. I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday. But I waited until midnight, and Alex Zhang never showed up. Perhaps he was indulging in the luxuries of a 5-star hotel with Emily Zhou, or maybe he was reveling in the nightlife. He never said he loved me. Of course, someone as wealthy as him. A canary like me was probably not the only one. I left all the money on the table. Our financial arrangement ends here. I just wanted to say happy birthday to him as a proper friend. Unfortunately, there was no chance anymore. I took one of his coats with me. It was a gift I gave him when I received my first salary. I still remember the look of surprise in his eyes. No canary ever thinks of emptying the patron's wallet and still buys gifts for the patron, right? I left, taking with me the last bit of my hope. Money didn't give me any benefit. It took away my courage to love someone openly. The next day, I went home to see my sister one last time. My dad said he had taken a sum of money from a big boss and had my sister taken away, just like what happened to me before. My beloved sister, is she going to end up like me? Why are you all so heartless? Are you even human? Huh, sacrificing one of me wasn't enough. At that moment, all the resentment and hatred accumulated over the years came flooding back. My anger erupted like volcanic lava. Dad sneered, saying that if I didn't save Ryan Luo, the other party would demand $50,000, which he couldn't afford. At that moment, I found it laughable. Despair made me unusually clear-headed. I used to think that protecting my family was my responsibility and duty. I thought my sacrifice could bring them happiness and contentment. I thought my efforts could at least earn a bit of their gratitude. That they could love me, their daughter who was willing to sacrifice for them. Now, I know I was wrong, whether it was my parents, my brother, or Alex Zhang. I was completely wrong. Mom secretly gave me an address. Standing outside the room, I heard my sister's cries. I had the driver ram the door open and smashed the phone against the head of the guy who was on top of my sister. I took my sister away. She sat in the back seat, disheveled, her sobs making me cry as well. I took my sister far away from this filthy world, away from that blood-sucking family. I came to Qingning and opened a pastry shop. Qingning is a coastal city, with warm breezes blowing all year round. For a whole month, perhaps it was the salty sea breeze that numbed my senses temporarily. From time to time, the newspapers featured Alex Zhang's declarations of love for Emily Zhou. Finally, even someone as proud as Alex Zhang would bow down for a girl? Ethan Zhang made her tiramisu. Ethan Zhang celebrated her birthday at midnight. Ethan Zhang took her to eat down-to-earth marinated chicken feet. Emily Zhou enjoyed everything I had done for him. The passionate and burning words blurred my vision. The kindness Ethan Zhang showed me before was probably just the sympathy of the strong for the weak. I was despondent and lay in bed for several days. Until my sister told me that in the pocket of Alex Zhang's coat, there was a diary. The diary pages were empty of dates, but the handwriting was bold and wild, unmistakably Alex Zhang's. The entries revealed a side of him unknown to many.
She has these eyes, so expressive and trembling, like a little deer needing protection. She does it all for her brother and sister. It reminds me of Nathan Zhang, my half-brother.
He paused, reflecting on his past.
Nathan was our father's child from another woman. Father never liked him. In my world, emotions seemed unrealistic. But Nathan treated me like a real brother. I was too young to protect him. Sandra Luo is like the old me, sacrificing everything for those she loves.
There was a moment of contemplation before he continued.
I don't know if I chose her out of sympathy, but she is brave.
The entries shifted to his thoughts on Sandra's vulnerability.
She's not a child, yet she cries so easily. But not in front of her parents. Those vampire-like figures wouldn't soften even if they saw her cry. I won't admit that I've softened, but maybe I can be nicer to her.
He thought about his own father.
There are so many terrible parents. My father was a tyrant, using marriage and children to consolidate power. I will never marry or bring another generation into this world.
He hoped for her future.
I hope she becomes stronger, so I can let her go.
His thoughts meandered to her simplicity and selflessness.
She's foolish. I give her tens of thousands every month, yet she can't buy a dress worth a few hundred. Doesn't she see her parents aren't worth her sacrifices?
A hint of affection crept into his words.
Adorable woman. I can't control my emotions anymore. She's so captivating.
He recalled a pleasant day.
Today was quite pleasant. Just some small favors, but she was so easily satisfied.
He chuckled at a memory.
She made me tiramisu. It means take me away. Does she still want to leave with me by her side? Surprisingly, it was delicious.
He remembered an odd yet sweet moment.
I ended up at a street stall, eating chicken feet. People stared, but I only cared about her lips, reddened from the spice. No one is more beautiful.
His tone turned serious as he recounted a frightening incident.
When she was pulled out of the pool, she looked like a shivering kitten. I hated myself for not protecting her. Throwing those women into the pool didn't ease my anger. No one can hurt my woman.
Reading these words, pain filled my heart. Which was real, this diary or his public declarations of love for Emily Zhou? I smiled bitterly, feeling somewhat invigorated. No matter how much I loved him, I couldn't be his lover for life. Precisely because I loved him, I had to leave. I didn't want to always be unequal in front of him. I had my dignity and pride. I wasn't a commodity. Maybe Alex Zhang was just a man who loved whoever he met, giving heart-shaped stones to everyone. Later, I heard my parents were harmed by Alex's men, and my brother was hospitalized. They cursed, saying the canary sold to him had run away, and breaking legs was the compensation. They said I was just a canary sold to Alex Zhang, and they would find me no matter where I went. Indeed, in his heart, I was just a commodity, a beautiful bird. I knew we were never going to be possible again.
Sister, do you really like him?
I didn't answer my sister's question. When I saw Alex Zhang's name on the news headlines, months of rationality vanished in an instant.
In the kitchen, I accidentally knocked over the soup, and my sister, Lily, rushed in, startled.
What's going on? Are you okay?
She saw the news on my phone and asked if I wanted to go see him.
Do you want to go see Alex? His company's stock just plummeted.
She was right. I really liked him. I admitted that I couldn't let him go, even if it was just to see him from afar. The villa looked the same as it did when I left a few months ago. The housekeeper, Mrs. Chun, hurriedly invited me upstairs to see Alex.
He's been frantically searching for you. He couldn't focus on work, drowning his sorrows in alcohol, always staring at your photo.
The housekeeper must be lying. How could Alex Zhang possibly miss me? But when I saw him lying weakly on the bed, all the buried resentment vanished. It was the first time I saw him so ill, with furrowed brows and a pale face.
Unable to control myself, I rushed over and held his distinctly jointed hand.
In the past, he seemed invincible, commanding with authority. But now he had lost a significant amount of weight.
Tears quietly streamed down my face, but suddenly, my hand was gripped by a force. Startled, I met Alex Zhang's intense gaze. He looked at me coldly.
What are you doing here?
His voice sounded accusatory, and I fearfully let go, ready to leave. Due to his illness, he couldn't hold me back, and I heard his cold laughter.
What? Seeing me down and out, here to kick me while I'm down? Feeling satisfied?
I didn't look back. I hated his coldness, his arrogance, his disdain, and his harshness. But now I couldn't say a harsh word. Or maybe I wanted to, but my voice trembled as I spoke. How could I feel satisfied? I'm worried about you, that's why I came to see you.
I took a deep breath.
But now it seems my coming here was unnecessary.
With that, I turned to leave completely, but suddenly heard a thud behind me. Turning around, I saw Alex Zhang had fallen to the ground. Startled, I quickly ran over to help him.
I tried to pull him up, but he suddenly hugged me tightly. He sighed deeply, resting on my shoulder.
Stay by my side. I'll give you the right to love me.
The next morning, when I woke up, I found myself still in a familiar environment, with his familiar face beside me. I liked watching him sleep because all his defenses, coldness, and pretense were gone.
I suddenly remembered what he said to me last night. Was it all true? I touched his forehead. The fever had subsided.
The sickly him was back to his energetic self the next day. Regarding the company, he acted decisively, quickly reversing the downturn. My return seemed to make him fearless. I also learned that the newspaper's report of his affection for Emily Zhou was all orchestrated by her. Even the incident where my parents and brother were harmed was orchestrated by Emily Zhou, aiming to drive me away forever. She miscalculated. She lost miserably. I never expected that my brother, Ryan Luo, had lost a lot of money gambling and, while fleeing, was accidentally harmed by the casino's enforcers. The funeral expenses for Ryan Luo were the last sum of money I gave my parents. I told them that the money I had given them over the years was enough, and I would never spend another penny on them. Even my mother cried incessantly, blaming me for Ryan's fate. As I left with my sister, my father sat on the ground, cursing me for being unfilial. I looked back at him. Yes, I'm unfilial. Remember, this will be the last time you see this unfilial daughter. When you die, I won't be there to see you off.
My father was stunned by my words. It wasn't until I was far away that he started cursing me with all his might. Sitting in the back seat of the car, Alex Zhang probably heard what my father said, which made him frown.
Same old nonsense.
This time, his tone was filled with helplessness. He covered my ears with his hands, blocking out my father's words. Even after the car had driven far away, he still held my ears. I had to gently remove his hands.
All right, this is the last time. I now often saw smiles on his face. At this moment, his handsome face was adorned with a warm smile as he said to me,
In that case, Mrs. Zhang, don't keep a stern face.